Okay, welcome to the June 6th, 2022 regular meeting of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board. The chair, Greg Strange, is absent tonight, so I will serve as the acting chair. A few agenda rules to read about the this public hearing, which will be held is being videoed by ECAT and is available most likely live as well as on demand. So the remote meeting procedures, in keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, as amended by Governor Baker on February 12, 2022, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you'll need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. Board members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio. Public participants will join the webinar as attendees, meaning they're muted with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized using the raised hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you are joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, we'll start with a roll call. Peter Duchesne here.
Bob Stetson here.
Deb Balsaric here.
Here.
Okay.
Chris Anderson here.
Oh, hi, Chris. Okay, cover the intro. So, Stephanie, do we have some continuances?
We do. You have 560 Foundry Street, South Street, and 464 Foundry Street have all asked to continue to the 27th, and Suzanne was 81 and 91 Summer Street also continuing to the 27th.
Yep.
Okay, so those 4 projects.
Okay, so we'll take those individually if there's a motion for the first being 560 Foundry Street.
Motion to continue 560 Foundry Street until June 27th.
Second, Stetson.
All in favor? Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next, I think we had 464 Foundry.
20 South Street.
Oh, sorry, 20 South Street. Sorry.
Motion to continue 20 South Street until, is it also June 27th?
Yes.
Stetson, second.
Okay. All in favor? Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Okay. Stephanie, which continuance?
464 Foundry.
Yep. Is there a motion to continue
464 Foundry Street to June 27th, sorry.
Kevin, second.
All in favor? Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Aye.
Deb?
And then we have 81 and 91 Summer Street.
Sorry, I was late on getting my microphone off. I'm also in favor of
Okay.
the last
Okay.
move.
Motion to continue 81 and 91 Summer Street to June 26th.
Second.
Is there a second?
I'll second
I'm
it.
second.
Oh,
Was
okay.
almost.
Okay. All in favor? Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
All right. So those have all been continued. So anyone that might have, from the public that might have been attending, you could perhaps expect those for the next meeting, or check with the planning department if you have a question as to whether they will be at the next meeting. All right. First tonight we have 74 Main Street, Sitco pylon sign, Sundell Realty LLC.
Carolyn.
Are there any
Yep, I
representatives?
just promoted. I think it's Carol, should be.
Carolyn?
Second, Carolyn, yes. Oh, Carolyn? No. Carolyn,
Second for Carolyn.
okay, I'll promote her as well. Okay, they should be showing up momentarily because they've moved from attendees.
I'm here, but my face isn't.
Can you share, can you turn your video on?
It is on, that's why I'm like, I can see all you guys, I don't know.
Interesting, I don't see you in the panelists. And, okay,
Carolyn's here with us.
Yeah,
you can see Carolyn?
Yep.
I
Well, we
can't,
see her,
I
yeah.
can't see me.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
there
we
we
see
go.
you, and you see,
need
we see
to-
you with, in our panel.
So you can see me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't see a picture, but we see that you're with us.
Oh, maybe.
There we
Yes.
go.
Hello. I like how you guys fuzz out your background. I don't know how to do that. So basically, I'm here about 74 Main Street, the Sitco gas station. They went in front of you. I had another meeting that night, so there was somebody else on it. And you told us to just continue until you found out what historic had to say.
Mhm.
So when we first went in front of you, we were looking for LED price signs. We were looking to have internally illuminated canopy signs, lighting around the perimeter. As soon as we walked into the as soon as I had the historic thing, I took all of that canopy illumination off the table. So basically, the only thing that we went in asking for was the LED price sign. We did get a certificate of appropriateness to allow us to have the LED in the historic zone. So they will redo the canopy, but all the signs will be non-illuminated. There will be no, perimeter lighting, just the existing canopy under lighting. And then the other sign is maintaining, staying the same way.
Stephanie, do you have any additional updates? Should we just look at the new plan?
Yes, you should look at the new plan. I mean, that's essentially the communication that came back from Wayne after the historical commission meeting. As they said, they agreed to the digital price sign.
Yes, and the sign goes off, goes off 10 at night and starts at 6 in the morning. And LED price signs are actually brighter during the day than at night. At nighttime, they automatically dim. And now it's getting dark, 8 o'clock? So I mean, the sign, it's not like it's gonna be a nuisance and he's right, he's the property next door over here where the sign actually is, so no one would be complaining about, the lighting getting in their window or something.
So are you just keeping the existing, the down lighting under the canopy, and then maybe whatever existing lights are attached around the building or the poles?
Yes, yeah. The only thing that's changing on the canopy is they're gonna reskin the fascia and put in, I didn't have it. They'll put in internally, I think they only make one sign and they just don't turn it on. You know what I mean? It costs more to try to make a sign that's not illuminated, so.
I see.
All right, can you, you know what, did I select, can you see those signs
Yeah,
now?
we can see this.
So we're taking 3 signs down and putting 3 back up, non-illuminated.
So you'll recall in the last meeting, they showed a canopy and they showed a rendering or an image that showed this lit up at night, and this was all lit along the top here and really appeared to have quite a bit of visibility.
Right, so that's all gone.
and they're replacing this.
Right, so, and that sign's set quite far
Pricing.
back from the roadway. It's just very hard to go out there and change these prices, especially the way gas is changing. You know, he has to get a ladder and all that stuff. And pretty soon you're not gonna be able to even find these numbers. Like I said, at the historic, I'm surprised he found 4 4s like that, you know what I mean? To have his, and now he needs a 5, but
Oh, yeah, the new signs have space for additional digits in case.
yeah, so this way he can change it from within the building, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And like I said, it dims. If I think they put in my thing, if they feel it's too bright, you know, say there's a 10 is the brightest, you really can't go below 3 or you won't see it. You know what I mean? So you have that range that if someone goes, oh my God, you know, but it can only be dimmed so much. So
But now, any of the existing signs attached to the canopy are being changed or?
well, the whole it's
So
it's just a new image. See,
this
It might look
image
it-
is,
it might look the same to you, but
Yeah.
Citgo says it's
Okay,
different.
but they're not, but either way, they're not illuminated.
No, they're not going to be illuminated.
Do you have some downlighting? So at least are not,
No, nothing.
so there's no downlighting
Well-
on the exterior of the canopy?
No, just the
on
existing
the outside.
lights that are under the canopy.
Okay, yeah, I saw them the other day.
So the illumination will maintain the same illumination
Uh,
that's currently there.
Board members, do you have any questions?
If I recall, I thought we were, I don't want to put words into anyone else's mouth, but I thought one of the main concerns was, foot candles or light pollution from the canopy illumination, which has been eliminated.
Right.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. If there's any public comment, you could raise your hand and Stephanie will. No?
I don't see anyone.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if my intent originally was to kind of restrict the whole project to only the digital sign. I mean, I wasn't against some additional lighting if it was felt it was necessary, but this is what we have here. So any other questions or any motions?
Make a motion to approve the internally illuminated sign at 74 Main Street, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All in favor? DeShane, aye.
Stetson, I.
Anderson,
Aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
We're done?
That's it.
Thank you. Don't mind, I got in a car accident Saturday, so
Yep.
I'm a little banged up. But have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Right.
Okay. All right, so next we have 507 Boundary Street.
Yep. And do we have anyone for, we have Bob Crow.
Mr. Crowell, please just, when you enter the meeting, just please introduce yourself, your name and relationship to the project for the record.
And Bill Adams is joining as well.
I think Bill is going to start the
Okay.
presentation.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is William Adams, and we're here for our continued hearing at 507 Foundry Street. Based on the last meeting that we had, we prepared a plan that shows the photometric lighting, even though the lighting is existing and it is provided for by National Grid. I called National Grid 5 or 6 times trying to get specifications of the light. My engineer, my MEP engineer, provided some fixtures for the pole that would be, that I actually have information on. I don't have information from National Grid. They never responded to me, which is not a surprise, but so the existing lighting, I can pull that plan up. Let me see.
Sheet 3.
All right, let me pull this. Share screen. Okay, can you see that plan? That set of plans?
Yes.
Okay, so the existing lighting is in this back corner. We put a box out here so you actually see it. It's easier to see it. We're proposing to put in a smaller fixture than what's there, just what is necessary to light the parking lot. I do have the specs of the light we're proposing, and I have submitted them. We are proposing a new light at the entranceway down on this pole down here, which would light up this entrance area. And again, I have an LED. I submitted a cut sheet for that fixture as well. I can pull it up if you want to see what it looks like.
No. Keep,
That's okay. I mean, I think we understand what.
Okay, and then on the building itself, there's they call them wall packs. They're like sconces. They shine downward. We have 2 on every wall, which is showing on this plan.
if you want, Bill, look at the blow-up plan adjacent to it. It's twice the size.
Okay, yes,
Sure.
right here. Over to the right, that's showing the wall sconces. This ramp, there's a soffit overhang in that ramp. We have some recessed lighting in there to light that ramp up. And then there's also recessed lighting at the entrance and at the rear entrance that light up the landings and the stairs and what have you. On the front of the building, we have lights that I don't know the exact name of them, but they hang down with a like a bell shaped.
Well, those lights are shown on the other one. I didn't get it on the blow up.
On the other plan,
On the other side. No, just go to the other side. The same sheet 3.
over here.
Yeah, just blow that area.
Okay, so there's 3 lights out there that'll be hanging down, that'll light up that seating, outside seating area. That was one of the things that was identifying all the light fixtures. Then also plantings up in the back. We have the planting schedule. I also submitted a planting schedule from the landscaping company. And I've uploaded that, but they're the same that's identified here on the plan. Then I believe the last thing was there was concerns with the asphalt. So this last pan is a paving detail. Presently, we have this portion removed to put in the grease trap and to take the canopy off and all of that. Throughout the property, there's between 5 and 6 inches of asphalt. Any place that there's an issue with any asphalt, I am planning on removing. There's cracks in the asphalt at this entranceway, and they're not cracks through the entire 5 or 6 inches. They're surface cracks. So I plan on grinding that asphalt and then replacing it. The other thing is the surface that is showing the cracks that Greg was concerned with. I'm not sure he knew that it's only about 3/4 of an inch thick. The rest of it is like 5.5 inches of base. I don't know if it was asphalted twice, or if they just put down this enormous amount of base in there. But the majority of the blacktop is in good shape. There's just certain areas. So where the hash marks are, we're planning on cleaning that out, grinding it up, and putting a base down, putting a top coat down. If the base is bad, when we dig it out, we will dig out the rest of it. So anywhere that, is even questionable. I have, over a dozen properties, and I don't let my properties, I don't have them with bad asphalt I don't let them get run down and deteriorated. I want my tenant to pay their rent. I want them to do business, and I want the place to look well. Look, the best it can look. And I think I'm expressing that by what I'm doing for the build out. I didn't have to do half the build out that I'm doing. I've taken this building and I've increased my build out probably by $100,000 and probably between $200,000 and $300,000 by the end of the day of what I'm doing just to the building alone. So I'm surely not going to allow.
I think we're very close here anyway. So
pothole parking lot to hinder my project. And over on this area here, this goes into the neighbor's property. I'm going to fix that property. I'm going to fix his too. At the same time, any place that looks bad on my property, I'm going to repair. If it overlaps a little bit, I'm going to repair that as well.
Bill,
And Neil called me or sent me a text this morning and asked me who my asphalt contractor was, that he'd like to possibly do some improvements himself. So maybe he's going to see mine's all nice and new and shiny. He's going to make his place look equally as well. So that's the, I believe that's the concerns that the board had previously. And I feel like we've addressed them all. If there's something else that I haven't addressed, if you could please let me know or ask me, I'll be more than happy, or Bob would be more than happy to explain.
Yes, definitely. I think that was most of the items that we had.
Yes, we had, so after the meeting, we had the location of asphalt to be cut and repaved.
I do have, if you want to see other
the planting
documents that I have, I had an engineer prepare a photometric plan.
May I finish?
That
Bill.
I have as well.
No, yeah, Stephanie has the floor.
that-
Let's let her,
No, I don't think he can hear
Something
us.
I thought that Greg wanted. I don't know that it was necessary, but I did it anyways. And it shows and also Greg had said, we need to know if the light's shining in the neighbor's eyes. Well, behind my property is all woods. To the left of my property is all woods. And my lights are facing in the westerly direction, so they're not shining in the other property's eyes. And the lights are shining down.
Okay, so I have a question on that, if I may speak for a moment, please. What are the yellow symbols indicate?
The other thing we did was we took the
Mr. Adams,
word illuminated off the plan,
Mr.
which
Adams,
seemed to be a concern. We removed that wording
Stephanie, can you
from the signage.
somehow
My
notify us?
understanding is the sign
Yes,
company
sorry.
is filing all their permits, and we're going to come before the board for the review of the illuminated signs, and they're also going before the zoning board for a variance that they need.
Just
I just put him on hold.
I didn't think he would just continue to talk over everyone like that, but that makes a little more sense that he would.
I don't think he could hear us.
Bob,
Yeah, I don't think he did it either.
Okay, so Peter, we provided the applicant with a list of all the items that the board was looking for. I'm not going to go through the whole list. They have all been addressed.
Yeah, that's great. And Bob, do you know what the yellow marks indicated on that photometric plan?
Yeah, that's the light amount of light that shines on each area.
Okay.
But I think yellow indicates where it fades out, doesn't it?
Yeah, the yellow looks like it's anywhere under maybe 0.2.
Or de minimis.
All right.
Yeah, it's
the board members, do you have
0.0
any questions?
and 0.1, so.
So Bob or Bill?
Oh.
I don't think Bill's with us anymore, but
No.
Oh, I mean, I was just going to release him.
Well, I think that, I feel bad now that he's wondering why we're not listening to him, but we did have to move on. So, all right, I don't have any other questions. Do you have anyone else think we need more on this plan or to ask more from the applicant on this project?
Do the two lights, the main lights, are those supposed to be dark sky type? Or is that part of the spec?
I didn't understand the question.
Hello? I don't know what happened. I lost everybody.
Yeah, can you hear us now?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Adams, can you hear us?
Hello?
Bill, can you hear us?
No,
You
you
can't
can't hear
hear
us.
us.
Okay. Amas, can you repeat your question?
the question is that the lights for the parking,
Hello?
the lights on the front. Can you hear me?
Hello?
I'm going to send Bill a text.
Mhm. Yeah,
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes,
If you hear me, please say yes.
yes,
Okay. So the question is, are those lights, the two lights for the parking lot, the one
And,
and the one on the front, illuminate
I
the entrance, and those dark sky?
can't
but
Oh, the sconces?
hear anyone.
the sconces are 8 feet off the ground on the building, and they light
Let
up
me
the
see if
building.
I can.
The
Hello?
lights up the entryway, and the handicap ramp are the lights in the soffit lights. So they light up all that, and they just go straight down.
Okay, Amas, is that helpful?
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Can you hear us? Mr. Adams, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, yeah, earlier, you continued to speak because you couldn't ask us, we were kind of moving on with the meeting, but I don't think you could hear anything we were saying, so. We're just at the point where the other board members have a few questions, but are there any more questions, board members? No?
Was
Stephanie, is
Bob
there-
able to answer them?
Yes. Stephanie, are there
okay.
any more?
Okay, I didn't hear him. He can fill me in later, I guess. Okay.
Stephanie, are there any public questions from the
No,
public?
I see no one. Hold on, let me just triple check, but no, there's no one from the public.
Well, we could entertain a motion if.
Motion to approve the site plan at 507 Foundry Street, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All in favor, DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, I.
Balsarica.
Okay, motion passes. Thanks for working with us, making some of those changes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sorry for any technical difficulties there. It was not intentional. So have a good night. Goodbye.
Thanks.
All right, that was not the smoothest meeting, but I think it was a technical difficulty. Is Amas with us still? Oh, he's back. Okay, Amas, you're back. You disappeared for a minute.
He moved.
Okay, he moved. All right,
Yeah.
back to the agenda. Okay, let's see. So then we had a couple of continuances there. So the next one we're looking at is we have the 464 is continued also, right? So we all the way up to Hill Street, Stephanie?
Yes, we are. Yeah, and if anyone could raise their hand in the audience who's here to present on that.
Yes, this is 6 Hill Street special permit.
I don't see anybody. And they did not continue. They did submit revised plans midweek. Peter, I don't, hold on, there's one. Oh, someone raised their hand and lowered.
Okay.
But then they lowered their hand.
Hmm.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, Mike,
Mike
Good.
Schenk,
yes.
I am promoting him, but he might be a neighbor and a butter.
There's a note for Corey A. It says, please promote this account.
Oh, okay.
Or no,
Okay, Corey,
This is
A.
Nelson.
yes.
Oh, this is Nelson.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Schenk, are you here representing the project also, or you're?
No, I'm not. I'm a neighbor.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
you can hang around, but just let us
Sure.
do what we do first, and then when it's time for public participation, you can speak, okay?
Understood. Thank you.
All right, sure, thanks.
Nelson, I think you just have to unmute yourself.
Phone's not ringing.
Oh, we heard you for a second.
Hello, hi.
Hello, welcome
How's
back.
everybody?
Thanks. So I think last time at our last meeting, we were thinking about some changes to the plan. I hope you made some changes.
Yes, we did make some really awesome changes. My husband just stepped out for a minute, so I'm kind of on the spot here. I think you guys have the new proposed plans where the issue was the staircase on the outside of the building, and he's figured out a way to put it inside, which I think really solves that problem. The septic plan was just approved for it, which is also really good news. And then we also sent you a new plan for the parking. That was, it seemed that the issues were the parking and the staircase. So we've worked on both of those.
Okay, great. Would you like to share the plan with us, or I should I ask Stephanie too?
You want me to share them with you?
Well, if you'd prefer, I mean, if you're not sure how to share your screen, share the plan with us. Stephanie can do that. She has the.
Okay, Stephanie, I think I got to ask you. I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Now, what were the changes to the driveway where?
It looks like they've added the parking here
Off to the side.
and are expanding the parking. I mean, the driveway.
Right, taking out the shed that you guys spoke about the last time. We're just going to remove it, so it's not even an issue.
Okay. And can you just remind us on the, I could go to my Google map, but on the other side, if you're facing the house from the front on the left, there's some existing trees or bushes over there?
On the left?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think there are some bushes on the left.
Yep. All right.
There's like some privacy between the two homes for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a piece of.
Yeah. And then beyond the parking, there's still a lot of grass on the side.
Yes.
Before you see the other house. I'm really in the spot here because.
So we can sort of move on, and if Nelson comes back, he can tell us some more.
Okay.
Stephanie, do you have any updates on this?
No, I mean, they responded to the questions and suggestions of the board. I think the one, I'm going to this plan, a couple of other things that the board asked for were, okay, so revise the plans to show the relocation and camouflage to second enclosed entrance, and we'll look at the elevations in a minute.
Right.
Revise detailed elevations showing all structure, identifying elevations, calling out existing exterior architectural elements such as the crown molding along the fascia boards, windows, wood siding, that will be retained in all other such information. The elevation shows some of that information. It's not there. I don't feel like there's a lot of detail. I don't know if the board had an opportunity to look at the plans. And again, I'm trying to rotate this.
Yeah, I did, and I zoomed in, but I wasn't sure. I mean, I guess if, depending on.
It's a little difficult to see. As you can see, it appears to be a blueprint and a copied blueprint, so it's a little difficult to. Oops.
Right. He's planning to leave as much, detail as he can.
Okay,
With the old woodwork and fascia boards and things like
are you
that.
able to speak to some of those suggested, how you're gonna, what materials you'll use, or would be better off speaking with Nelson about that?
I don't know exactly the kinds of materials he'll use. What would be the materials? What would be I don't know.
Well,
I think when you look at the comments, Stephanie's comments and the historical comments, right? I think there are suggested variety of materials that are options.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said.
I think looking at the historical commission's comments, they suggested the possibilities of different materials that you could use. I'm not sure if you made a decision.
Yeah, I don't think he's made a decision because I think we're waiting for your decision to move forward with what materials he'll use. I really don't know.
All right. Okay. Well, board members, do you have any questions, or should we talk about the architectural plans a little bit?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, I thought that, it was just pretty genius putting the staircase, and it worked.
That's okay. We're just kind of deliberating here among us, not by ourselves, but that just opening the floor to any board members.
Okay, so I just got a message that he can do wood shingles and wood siding if that's, he says it does say it on the plans, wood shingles and wood siding. If that, he's on speakerphone, so now, we can find out if there's something else specific.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I may, I know that was something that at least Greg was looking for, and I think other members.
Yeah, I mean.
So Pam, we're gonna put the wood siding, we're gonna keep the same architecture of the house.
Yeah, we're going to keep the same architecture of the house. I mean, this isn't a historic house, though, in the historical district. So I'm a little,
But we still want to keep it
but we want to keep it the same. And
Yeah. So it's a special permit, so that's one of the considerations. That we have.
Right.
It's our job to look at.
Right.
Mr. Chair, are they, may I ask, are you planning on replacing the windows?
Yes.
And is the board concerned with what the window replacements might be?
It's gonna be a new construction window, but the trim work on the outside is gonna have the same features as the existing house.
Yeah, it's gonna have new. Can you hear him?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the answer about the windows.
The corbels up on the soffit, we're gonna keep them. We're gonna make the house look the same way it was. We have a glass room on the first floor on the right side, and we're gonna repair those windows because that's one of the beautiful features of the home is that first floor.
And then I'm gonna wanna move into it.
We also took into consideration the last meeting about having the stairs in the front of the house. We moved them to the back of the house.
Right.
It shows in the plans, and we kept them inside. So it goes over the kitchen on the first floor. We'll be closing that in. And that way, nobody has any problems with the snow and ice walking up the stairs. They'll all be enclosed, which allows the people on the first floor to have a stackable washer and dryer underneath the stairs. Also, we've enlarged the driveway, and we're going to keep it the same, keep it as concrete as it is now. We're just going to widen it the way we show in the plans. And we're going to remove that one shed that's in the back. It shows on the plans TDR to be removed.
Right. I already told them that.
It's all rotted anyway, so with no need for that.
Sure, okay, and it looks like your windows, will have some sort of representation of window panes, whether or not they're actually paned windows or not, but
So right now, the pre-existing windows, some of them, the original windows, and some of them have been replaced with vinyl replacement windows. But what we want to do is we want to put a new construction window, keep the trim work on the outside the same, and we're going to put grid work in the glass to try to imitate the same feature that the house originally had.
okay. And then the front porch, the railings and, the balusters, are those composite or wood, or what material are you?
On the outside right now, the railings is wood pressure treated, which they need some of the real attention to it. So I'm planning on the back going back to pressure treated, just replacing them because they need to be brought up to code. But the front, I'm gonna reconstruct that whole new thing with mahogany decking like you used to have, with the railings and everything. I've actually did one on 42 Columbus Ave a few years ago. I think mahogany, if you take care of it once a year, it just brings a beautiful feature to the home.
Okay, that sounds nice. Board members, do you want to say anything before we move on to the any neighbors?
So Peter, my only question is that none of that is really noted on the plan. And even though visually I can see what the scale or what the intention is, there are no like height dimensions or anything on there. So if we were to accept this without continuing it, how do we ensure that it is built in a manner that was just described and that's in keeping with what is illustrated? It's also a little bit, I see that there are some notations, but it's not 100% clear what is existing and what is new. But I'm just asking,
so not just material wise, but the actual, the actual structure building.
Yep. Like for instance, the addition. I see that the addition is lower than the main peak of the house, but there is no dimension.
Okay, but otherwise, I relatively satisfied with the changes made thus far with the architecture.
Okay, he's addressed. Wait a second.
Nelson, hold on.
Nelson, hold on. Can you hear me? Okay, you need to hold on.
All right. Deb, go ahead. Continue. So Deb, besides that,
I don't even know who was just commenting that, but he was trying to address it.
Okay, Deb's speaking now, so you can.
Well, and just since they're like in relationship to some of the materials that were mentioned, it's just that it's not all put in the plan, or like it looks like there's divided lights shown in the glass, but it's not necessarily called out. So I'm just saying, if we were to make a motion without those notations on there,
How do you know that it would actually get done? Yeah,
Yes, but yeah, Beth, just hold on, just while we're speaking, if you could just, just wait your turn, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Yep, yeah, I see what you mean, Deb. So what do you think is a better idea? To request more detailed plans, or just add some conditions to any possible?
well, I mean, I think ideally in the past, I mean, typically, I feel like Greg would typically say that, we usually request that information to be on our plan, but again, I'm not sure if everyone feels that it's necessary, or if in our motion we could just, Suzanne's taking minutes of the meeting if she's able to capture everything that was discussed. And that obviously in terms of like building heights and proportions and everything, that the addition is even though that they're missing from the plans.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe in that case, I think your first idea might be a little better, where they could maybe take something similar to this, but sort of, list the material changes that have been represented, and maybe go into a little more detail. Like we didn't even ask about any of the, other trim, what that material might be. So Nelson and Pam, we don't need to rattle off your whole material list right now, because I think we're gonna just ask for something with a little more information on it. So.
Yeah, I think if they can document exactly what they just talked through, I think that would be a lot better for us to say, yes, let's move forward.
Yep, right. We could have already probably moved
Sounds
forward.
like, yeah, exactly.
Had that been shown.
so what exactly, I'm sorry, are you asking us to do? To make a detailed list of the materials?
If on
Mr. Chair, may I make oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Stephanie.
I'd like to make a suggestion. We have had, the board has had recent projects before them with elevations that show the level of detail that the board's looking for. We can share that with the Nelsons, and they can use that to complete their elevations with the detail that you're looking for.
So that's something you would send us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to express that there were a lot of verbal explanations that you were given. Those probably needs to make their way to a document that we have, so is a record instead of just minutes on a meeting. So they need to make it to the plan. All your verbal explanations about who put the stairs and why, and the elimination of certain things, all those things that were explained verbally needs to make it to the plan.
Okay, yeah, I think that those are some good suggestions.
Yeah.
Stephanie, did we have one of the?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me stop.
Waiting to speak.
Screen. Okay, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, maybe.
Mr. Schenk just raised his. I will allow him to talk.
Oh, Mr. Schenk, please just state your name and your address.
He should be able to speak.
Mr. Schenk, you're here, but we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Okay, Diane Carroll also has raised her hand.
Okay, well, we'll try Diane. Diane, if you unmute yourself, hopefully we can hear you. But so long as
okay, I'm going to try promoting them to panelists. We'll start with Mr. Schenk first. And
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Shank, you're here.
Hello.
Just
Hi.
please state your name and your address for the record.
Sure. Michael Shank, 4 Hill Street.
Okay, thanks, go ahead.
All right. So just concerns overall with the increased number of vehicles and traffic on the street. My wife and I purchased the home last year. It's, you know, a single family home. There's one other structure on the street that is a duplex, but those are condos, and they each have their own driveway. There's about 6 to 7 children. 2 are my own in the immediate vicinity of 6 Hill Street. And there's already a lot of pass-through traffic coming off of Pine and Turnpike. That's, you know, kind of becoming an increasing concern. So, you know, I understand that they're going to expand the driveway and there's going to be 4 parking spots, right? But that is not to say that there won't be more than 2 cars per unit, or they won't have guests or family over, in which case they'll have to park on the street, which is already a narrow street without sidewalks. And again, there's a lot of children. You know, we're often taking them to the park, around the corner alleys park. And that's something we're already kind of on the lookout for in terms of the parking and the traffic. So I just wanted to call that out as well. It is nice to see that the stairs are now going to be inside the house. But again, that doesn't negate the fact that, you know, it is very close to our property. And there's only privacy during the summer months when the trees are in full bloom. And, so, you know, so I just wanted to call that out. We weren't, if we wanted to move into an area that had multifamily units, we would have done so. But we sold our house on Center Street in North Easton and moved here for its privacy and quaint aesthetic and family style neighborhood.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Oh, Stephanie, I believe.
Okay, hold on.
Diane was here.
We have.
Okay, Diane, it looks like you're muted right now, but when you are able to speak, please state your name and address for the record.
Again, I'm going to try to make promoter to panelist. I don't know why though. There we go. And she still needs to unmute.
Yeah, geez, Mr. Adams couldn't stop talking, and now
Maybe Diane can send a chat.
Diane, if you can, please submit your comments by chat. It doesn't seem like your video connection is active, or your audio connection.
Okay.
Oh, do we have, looks like,
Do we have a,
oh, well, we have some other chats.
there's one from Emily.
Yep. Emily writes, can privacy fencing or shrubs be placed to shield the view of the new parking area to the street? The house across the street now will look like a parking lot.
Look at a parking lot.
Okay, yep. Mhm. And that's the only real material comment here. I didn't.
And Mr. Chair, if Emily could indicate where she lives, that would be helpful.
Yep.
And her last name. And we don't seem to be getting anything from Diane.
Oh, we have a new message.
That's Emily's.
11 Hill Street.
Yeah.
Right. Nelson and Pamela, have you considered some screening to maybe shield that larger parking area from some of the neighbors in the street?
Yes, we
We
could
could.
put some arborvitae's, to make a wall. And
Yeah.
also on the left side that it was adjacent to number 4 Hill Street, planning on putting a fence on that side. And we can note that on the plans.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. That's a good idea. Thanks.
That way it keeps it private, because the fence that's there now, it just starts at the back of the house and it's all rotted stockade, so it has to be reconstructed. So I would just run the whole new fence from the backyard all the way to the front.
Yep, yeah, and I know that the side yard where the parking area is pretty large, but maybe on the plan you could show a few plantings, sort of like just to at least kind of diffuse any headlights.
Yeah.
Just kind of shining directly on adjacent properties.
Yeah, I think that would look good and breaks it up a little.
Yeah.
Yep.
Idea.
Oh, I know we're not in the business of suggesting plant materials. And Stephanie, I don't know if you might have any comment, but I'm just looking back at the site plan again. And given the comment of, I think it was it Michael, whoever spoke earlier that lived on the street about the natural character of the street. I'm thinking like a wall of arborvitae's might not be as integrative as maybe just something more natural to that area that would provide some screening, like, I don't know, hemlocks and rhododendrons, or just something natural that's not a wall.
Yeah, that's my.
So that, and then I think Mr. Schenk just made a comment about asking about the fence. You could note that would be a typical 6-foot high fence, right? Not a.
Yes, it would be 6 foot. What's
Okay,
exactly
you just note that on the plan, and perhaps put a little more consideration, into the plantings, that they could be maybe more indigenous and less just kind of monotone. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the house is it's run down, so anything that we do is going to improve the neighborhood. It's got various windows and everything, because it's been worked on over the years. But we'll get the architect to put on the plans the grid work and more detailing on what we're going to do with the front porch there and the side porch. And any measurements that we're missing, I will make sure that they get put on there.
Okay, I think that's addressed everyone's concerns here. Are there any other comments, public or board members? Or Stephanie?
No.
Just to clarify, I think if it just also could be a little bit more clear what's existing and what's proposed. And then did you notice that it looks like there was a comment regarding parking in the chat?
I think that was Emily, who we're kind of presuming was across the street, and she was.
Looks like it's from Mike. It says,
Mike, yeah.
How will the owners manage the number of vehicles allowed at the property, i.e. max number of vehicles per unit? So I don't know if Stephanie, if you want to comment on
they're providing the requisite number for each unit, and I don't know how you would. I mean, the board isn't charged with managing the number of vehicles that people own at their homes.
And it gets quite a bit more complicated, whereas you can't limit how many family members might live, how many children someone might have, or if they have an in-law or something. So right, that's almost impossible. Great. So we could, Nelson and Pam, do you feel like you know what you need to do for the next meeting if we were to continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. Thanks for continuing to work with us on this project. Board members, any more questions or motions to continue?
Make a motion to continue the special permit review of 6 Hill Street, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All in favor, DeShane, aye.
That's an aye.
Anderson, aye.
Balsaric, aye.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for the additional technical difficulties, but we're trying to move on here, so have a good night.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank
yourselves.
you.
And Peter, before we move on to the next one, I'm going to have to dismiss myself. So thank you,
Right.
and have the rest of the meeting.
Okay, so you're dismissing yourself for the, you're not just recusing, you're dismissing yourself for the meeting?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, tonight's the night that, yeah, you mentioned. You had
Yes.
something.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Well, have fun.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Deb.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks for coming in. That was helpful. All right, so Stephanie, now we have 3 here.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let's see. Which one are we at now? I think I lost track. Okay, so I did just promote Casey Lieberman for 41 Robert Drive. And if there's anyone else with you, Casey, if they could please raise their hand.
It's just me tonight.
Okay, we'll hope that the audio and video work right and we can move on a little more quickly here. So thanks for coming on. Tell us about your project.
All right, so this is for Target in Easton. It is, let me just, sorry, pull up the address. It is at 41 Robert Drive in South Easton. So pretty much at this store, there's already existing drive-up spaces. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So pretty much there was great success with them due to COVID. So Target's looking to expand them to, I think there's probably maybe like 6 right now, and they're looking to expand it to 24 spaces. So there's going to be 24 spaces on the side of the building in the same location, just expanding it down the side. And this is actually going to eliminate a couple of ADA spaces, but in the plans you could see they're proposing to move the 4 that's being eliminated to the front of the building directly across from the main entrance along the drive aisle. So yeah, so also I could also share my screen, my bad. I realized I wasn't even sharing it. I'll share it as I do this. Okay, sorry, here's the overview, just so you could see it better. So yeah, this is just an aerial of the site.
You can't see it.
Oh,
okay.
There we go. All right, sorry about that.
Okay,
so this is an aerial of the site, and we did over this, so you can see the existing spaces beneath it. So there's only a few, and we're gonna let it expand down. So anywhere there is some that are no longer going to be used, those are going to be sandblasted and restriped as standard spaces.
Yep.
So yeah, these are the proposed locations, and between every 2 spaces, there's this loading area. It's like a walk aisle for the employees that come out and deliver the goods to the cars. And then this magenta indicates a canopy. It's really just meant for weather conditions and to help protect the employees, you know, when they're bringing anything out to the cars. And I could pull up an exhibit so you can see what it looks like. So this is just a visual of what we're proposing. There's going to be a drive up sign on it. But I know Suzanne filled me in that that's something separate I'm going to have to get other approvals for. But yeah, so this is just pretty much an overview of it. Sorry, I'm just clicking back to this page. But yeah, so there's going to be all, you know, any traffic control that's needed. There's going to be stop bars, stop sign over here. And then these 2 black squares represent, here, let me pull it up. They represent this blade sign. It's actually, this is incorrect, it's not internally illuminated, but it's, oh, sorry, these are, yeah, so these are just meant to be directional signs to just help customers find the drive up on the left side of the building, since you can't really see that from the road. So these will be at the front of the building.
And are those drive up signs illuminated or not?
No, they're not. Sorry, this is incorrect. I just realized, but it's correct in the sign plan that I'll be getting approved later on. But yeah, they're not illuminated. So yeah, that's kind of an overview. Sorry, I'm kind of like jumping all over the place. Do you guys have any questions?
And just like the existing traffic pattern for that section remains the same, right? People just pull in and pull into a spot, and then they go the opposite way to exit, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about like a 2-minute turnover rate once you actually pull into the space. but yeah.
And do you have the new ADA parking spots on
Yes.
the plan?
Mhm.
Okay, right.
So they're going to be moved over here. So this is this existing landscaping right now, and yeah, they're going to put the ADA spots here.
And then the old, the previous pickup area is just going to be restored to the original park. It's over to the right, the existing pickup spot. Not the new-
Yes.
that's the new spot. Isn't the existing over to the right?
To the right. No.
The one time I went there, and I had to wait a while. It was over to the right. Yeah, but maybe more than one spot. It was sort of right. Yeah, right around there, but in those parking areas there.
Oh, no.
Well, not there. No, not in the front, like to the right to the front. Now you go over a few inches
Like over here, you're saying?
Up, all the way to the other side. Yeah, right around there. Towards the front ones. That's where we went and they dropped it off, but looks like you're stating that those will be restored to regular parking spots.
Yeah. There's none there existing that I know of. I don't believe there are, unless it could have been, maybe there's 2 targets in Easton. This is South Easton, so I'm not too sure, but these aerials are usually pretty up to date because we use a special. Sorry, what was that?
We can go with this. Stephanie, did you have some comments?
I did have a couple. One, they use the aerial, so it just made it a little bit hard to read, but they did not identify the abutters. I talked with Casey about that. I think she was submitting a revised plan that showed the name and address of the abutting properties. Yep, I can see that there.
I resubmitted them. So yeah, we threw them all.
And then, let's see. So on the signs, I did not pick up that the plan showed that they were illuminated. And so I think we need to see that eliminated from the plan. Casey acknowledged that she knew she needed to, when they submit their sign application, if they were illuminated, that would need to come to the planning board, and you're limited as to the number. And Casey also acknowledged that the canopy sign that I don't know if the zoning enforcement officer would consider that another wall sign. I think a case could be made for that, but that's for him to decide. So I would suggest you check in with him, Kevin Griner, it's the building inspector. And then my other comment was that they're replacing the ADA spaces that they're losing. They're replacing where, in Casey, if you could show this, where there's some landscape area. I mean, it's really not fantastic as it is, but it's still, if you then zoom out, there's very little landscaping on this property. And I'm not even sure what the lot coverage is, because it's pretty extensive. I mean, this was approved many, many years ago at this point. So my thought was, if they feel that's where they need to put those spaces, that the board might want to consider asking them to add another landscaped area to compensate for the fact that you're losing that. And that was pretty much it. There's a comment from the captain, Zalo, that they would require a Chapter 34 review of the building code to ensure adequate fire suppression. So
there was a note in the chat that I think there was more project representatives here.
Okay. That's the next meeting.
Okay, that's the next one. Okay, just
I think they were at the Conservation Commission meeting prior. So that's just...
All right, board members, do you have any comments?
I have a question for traffic safety. Is there any additional need for some signs, direction of traffic? And it looks a little narrow, cars in and out both directions. Is there a need? Should the police or someone approve the whatever?
I think that's just a typical commercial parking lane though, that just functions the same as a typical one. So that I kind of alluded to that, but I didn't ask specifically, but that was my feeling of that.
And if I could respond to that, Amos, because I looked at that too, that was something that I was looking for. And that was, I drew the very same conclusion, that that's a typical parking lane where someone's either going to pull in, nose in, or they'll back in, and then they would just back out and return the way they came.
Yeah, and these spaces act as standard parking spaces at the end of the day, so.
Yeah, I think the benefit of this, and this is why you're losing spaces, is that they have this area between each of the two. So that looks like to be the path where someone's actually delivering and providing some separation.
It's easier to back up.
Yes, yep.
One of the reasons I see is if you look at the aerial picture, you can actually enter from the other side and go around the building. But I think should be signs there that that is not permitted, right?
Sorry, what was the question? You were asking if you can't enter from the backside of the building?
Yeah, you can actually go around, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if cars typically drive around to the loading docks of the building to the backside, but I feel like by the end of the day, you could still pull in from the backside as well, yes.
Especially with signs that says do not enter loading trucks.
Right. It's actually pretty uninviting. I've gone out there to do inspections and thought about driving around, and it really, there, you can see even from the surface of the driveway that it changes. I was going to say, I thought there might even be a gate there, but it doesn't, it looks like that tractor would be where the gate might be, but it's not someplace that invites you to drive.
Yeah, if they ever do it once, they'll probably just go the other way the next time. And
exactly.
They have space to turn around and find the easier way out.
No, I was alluding at signage that will help someone understand.
Yeah, but also then to add, that's the purpose of these wayfinding blade signs, is that they'll be like, they're gonna have these arrows on them. So like they're there at the front drive aisle of the building for the purpose of helping the customers find, where this actual drive up is on that left side of the building. And they've seen a lot of success with that, so.
So Stephanie, our board members, would you think that we need to wait for the final plan with these changes, or could we attach a few conditions that the final plan show some of the other details that we asked for?
I think that would be fine.
I'll definitely get a complete sign package that'll have everything correct in there. I have one, but I submitted those comments to our sign vendor that we need to get, those changes made.
Yeah. We'd be sort of approving the location of the wayfinding signs, right? But not the graphics, and then the new wall sign is just its own separate entity, really, as far as
I mean, I guess we'll see if it's considered a wall sign since it's on the canopy. It's not on the building.
Yeah, well, that kind of starts with the building inspector, who kind of decides how to handle that, and then if needed, it comes to us.
Okay.
Right.
And then was there anything I need to get from the fire department? I know there was a comment about a potential review, but I wasn't sure like what went into that.
You need to, you or someone from Target needs to contact the captain.
Okay.
And then Peter, was the board interested in requiring a replacement landscaped area equivalent to what they're losing?
Oh,
that can only be a recommendation, right? We cannot commission that.
The board can condition that.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. That's a good idea. I think sorry, I missed that when you were.
Hmm.
at that point with the ADA spots. Stephanie, did you have an idea on a location, or should we look at the front?
Again, there's a lot of opportunity. I think where it again provides a little more visual relief. Casey, if you could just scroll, make the building go, yeah, there, and this plan doesn't show fully the entranceway, but if you see, you have these long aisles that have no relief. Again, the bylaw, and I wasn't here, I'm not sure, they may have sought waivers from this. I didn't go to pull the decision, but normally the board would require landscaped relief. So even somewhere breaking up the expanse of the aisle would, and maybe in 2 spots. I would like I like the idea of breaking up these. Let me see if I can annotate this. Breaking up in here, so maybe an aisle.
Yeah, really, some more of those spots should have had that landscape buffer, but we're not.
Yes.
Really just talk about that.
Okay. Can we zoom in so we can see it bigger?
Over here?
At the entrance.
Oh, at the entrance.
Yeah, there you go. Even a little bigger. Yeah. So what are you suggesting, Stephanie?
So this is where you're losing, and this isn't contiguous. It's like there are 2 more of these landscaped rectangles underneath where they're planning to put this additional parking.
Here, I'll pull up a better view of it.
Okay. Right.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Here, you can kind of see it better. This area that's hatched represents the areas that are going to be.
Why don't you just move those to some existing parking spots and leave the landscaping, and it just keeps it so much more simple.
That's true. I'm not sure if there's any.
Yeah.
It probably just has to do with how it realistically probably has to do with maybe this area is already ADA compliant.
Okay, yeah, never mind. That's true.
I think it's the ramp. If you have a ramp.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, I like Stephanie's idea of just adding and cutting out a few sections a little farther out where the circles, where those ovals were, and kind of putting in some islands.
Okay, so then like maybe around here, so it's consistent, symmetrical, adding in landscape islands here. Is that what we're saying?
Well, where I located it, when you moved the screen, the markings didn't move with it.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's actually better for you. It gives you more spots like right next to the building, and then there's just a few farther out. So
here, I could circle it. Before you do was it any
kind of just? I had these probably around here. Oops, you keep moving it.
Sorry, I'm done touching it.
Okay, yeah. Oh, in that section. So
it kind of in line with this buffer.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's the text box. Let me.
Okay. So 2 landscaped islands approximately the size of, well, each island is approximately the size of 2 parking stalls.
All right, so about 2. Like this is good.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of the type of landscaping, is there like a preference on the tree type or anything like that?
Native material, native plantings. And it would actually be nice. I mean, what's there right now are smaller trees. They're not large growth. They're not tall trees, and some kind of shade tree would really be nice there. And it would offset some very small amount of the heat island effect that you're getting off this parking lot.
Yeah, but even though it's not completely consistent, at least you're doing a little more than doing less. So
right.
Okay. Yeah. We've done things like this in the past, so I'm sure I'll get the okay from Target on this.
So if you approve this tonight, Stephanie will just look at Stephanie will look at the islands and the planting and say, yeah, this is good. I have a couple of small suggestions.
Okay, so you're saying just an approval with conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Seems like where we might be going. haven't heard anyone else chime in, but I'm done for now. So right now, if there were a motion to approve this, it would sort of exclude the design of the pylon signs and the existence of the wall sign and a new plan showing the islands and the planting, the new islands and the planting.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan at 41 Roberts Drive, exclusive of the pylon and wall signs, and with the conditions for the new islands with the plantings as discussed tonight. Stetson.
Adam, second.
All in favor? DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Motion passes. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay. I need the folks from the next hearing to please raise their hands. I know many of you.
Good evening.
530 and 550 Turnpike Street. Right?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Just please state your name and I guess association for the record.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Pellegrini. I'm an attorney in Bridgewater representing the applicant, Rhino Development. I guess you all know where this project is located. It's the Easton Golfland site. Just a quick sort of introduction. Design review for us was April 6th. I believe we informally met via Zoom with Mr. Strange and several other people from the town. I think that was in March. We made application in the middle of May for tonight's hearing. We have a lot of people with us this evening, so I'd like to just quickly introduce everybody. I'm sure you're seeing the panelists pop up now, but John O'Leary is the project proponent. He's a project manager for Rhino. There's Austin Chartier. He's with McKenzie Engineering Group. We have Matt Keeley to talk to you about traffic. He's with VHB. Bill Madden, landscape architect from Greg Lombardi Design, and Scott Morrison from Ecotech, wetland scientist. I think with that brief introduction, I just want to see if maybe John can share his screen if he doesn't already have the capability to do that. John will be looking to do that. While he's doing that, I can just explain really quickly. As you know, this is in the industrial zone. The proposal is for a warehouse with a small amount of office use as well. And those are allowed uses. So the reason we're here tonight is for a site plan review. So we're hoping to sort of walk you through with all of the people we have present, really everything that we need to do to show you that this is going to be a site not only that's not detrimental, but that's an actual positive change for this particular site. So that said, I think I'll keep quiet and let John take over. John again is with Rhino.
Thank you, Rob. For the record, John O'Leary, Rhino Capital with the project proponent. Just to confirm, are you guys looking at the agenda slide? I just want to make sure I am showing the right
Yes,
thing here.
John.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. I had a little bit of confusion coming from Conservation Commission. So as Rob mentioned, we just kind of want to, we're going to go over some of these elements of the project from a high level this evening and then answer any questions and follow-up discussion here. So we'll try to move pretty quickly here so that we don't take up everybody's evening. So as Rob mentioned on the line, we have myself, Austin Chartier, our site civil engineer, Matt Keeley, our traffic engineer from VHB, Bill Madden, our landscape architect from Greg Lombardi Design, and Scott Morrison, a wetland scientist from Ecotech. So as Rob mentioned, sort of zoning here, we are in the industrial zoning district. Our primary use for this property will be warehouse with an accessory use of office, which are both allowed uses within this zoning district. We'll be seeking a site plan approval from the planning board, as well as a notice of intent from the Conservation Commission, stormwater management permit, and we will also be proposing a septic system with the Board of Health. So just kind of a little site overview here. What you're looking at here, the outline blue line is 530 and 550 Turnpike Street. It's two parcels totaling roughly 79 acres. This property is about a half mile from the intersection of Route 106 and Route 138, and about a mile and a half to the Route 24 interchange. So from a high level, the vast majority of this project, actually, we're not really proposing any work within. Roughly 50 acres of the property is within a wetland area, and then roughly 72 acres of the property actually falls within a natural heritage rare species boundary, which represents roughly 90% of the total acreage in the site. Our work for this development will be entirely outside of that priority habitat area, meaning that we'll be operating in less than 10% of the total site area. We will have an element of work proposed within the natural heritage boundary, but that work is actually restoration, which is a benefit that we're providing, and we're really excited about sort of restoring that driving range area. Scott Morrison just went through it with the folks on the Conservation Commission and is also going to be joining us this evening, and we'll be touching on it. So existing conditions of the site, sort of zooming in a little bit here, as maybe some of you are aware, it's an existing driving range with some supporting buildings, a pro shop, a teaching area, maintenance shed, batting cages, snack shack, mini golf course, and associated parking, roughly 181 existing parking spaces, and approximately 4.5 acres of existing impervious area. I will turn it over to Austin Chartier, our site civil, to talk through some of the proposed site conditions here in front of us.
Thanks, John. For the record, Austin Chartier with McKenzie Engineering Group. I can just quickly touch on some of the proposed features here. So as John mentioned, we're proposing just over 100,000 square foot warehouse use with associated or accessory office area. The office area is about 8,000 square feet, which leaves the remaining 93,200 for warehouse. The primary design goal when laying out this site was kind of to basically stay away from the natural heritage areas as well as the bordering vegetated wetland. So we kind of looked at what was there today and kind of, how can we make it tighten up the limit of work a little bit and kind of keep what's there, so it'll be kind of a low impact development. So the project is fully compliant with the zoning bylaws in terms of off-street parking calculations, as well as the table of dimensional regulations, which we'll get into a little bit. So basically we're proposing 109 parking spaces, and basically based off the density of the use, that's exactly what's required is 109 parking spaces. 6 of those are going to be handicap accessible, and 2 of them will actually be electrical vehicle charging stations for, future, basically for electric vehicles. And then so we're kind of separating. The site today has these 2 existing entrances. The locations are not changing. They're proposed exactly where they sit today. They're about 510 feet apart along Turnpike Street. But so we're really going to separate the office use and employee uses to the right side of your screen as you're looking at it. And then the left side will be the loading bays, a couple of trailer storage spaces, trash receptacle, utilities are all going to come in over here. So really kind of separate the two uses, which will be nice for the user. And just some overall site. As John had mentioned, the site today, the actual developed or disturbed land is about 18.5 acres. Our proposed use will be disturb about 6.8 acres. So almost, a 33% reduction in the actual disturbed area, which is conservation definitely liked. But with that said, there is a slight increase in impervious, and that majority of that increase comes from the building. It's a substantial building. It's actually a decrease in parking. We go from 181 spaces to 109. And a lot of the, so it's a decrease in the impervious coverage. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, it's fully compliant here. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The front yard setback is 50 feet minimum. We're proposing about 70 feet. It's actually 69.9. But in that front buffer, we're proposing a water quality swale. That's going to be landscaped. There's going to be some shade trees planted. So it's really going to kind of create a buffer between the building and the road. And that came up in the preliminary design review meetings as something they might want to see. And then for the parking summary, it's just a quick calculation. It's basically one space for 500 square feet of office and one space for 1,000 square feet of warehouse, giving us a total of 109 spaces, which we are providing. We didn't want to go any over that because I think, this will be ample parking in general. Next slide, please. So for site layout and circulation, as I mentioned, we are separating, the office use, the employees, the day-to-day use from the, the trucks coming in and kind of some of the more utility stuff. At our preliminary design review hearing, the fire chief mentioned maybe he'd like to see some access along the front side of the building. So we're kind of, we are providing a 12-foot wide gravel access. And we're basically combining that with the handicap access ramps. So, when you come to the site, you wouldn't really notice it, but there will be some, that will be buffered off. So an emergency vehicle could get in there. And then also on the rear portion of the site, kind of adjacent to the stormwater basin, we are proposing a fire lane there, as well as a fire hydrant out back there. So if there ever was an issue, they could have access to water and plenty of room to get at the building. This will be fully reviewed by them, and the building will be sprinklered as well. So we don't, we think we've taken his recommendations into consideration. Next slide. Yeah, I can turn it over to Matt Keeley with VHB. I can talk a little bit about the traffic that he's looked into.
Thanks, Austin. Again, my name is Matt Keeley, traffic engineer from VHB. What I'd like to do is just quickly take you through the main components of the traffic memorandum that we submitted as part of our application. So starting with existing conditions, we conducted traffic volume counts out there in April of 2022. I'll get into more detail on that in a minute, but at the time we conducted our counts, the mini golf and batting cages weren't open for the season yet, so we didn't capture quite all of the traffic that's there on a typical basis during the season. We also conducted a crash history, reviewed the latest 5 years of data available from MassDOT, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then as far as future conditions, we evaluated the trip generation projections, did a comparison of the existing traffic counts to our future estimates, and then we did an assessment of the safety of site access. So in terms of trip generation, a lot of times I get a question of how do we figure it out? So we use the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual. And what that is, it's a big book. It's a national database of traffic counts at a wide range of land uses. In our case, there's a land use code 150, which covers warehousing. Within that set of data, there's trip generation rates that we use to make projections based on the size of the building. This is consistent with industry standards for trip generation calculations, and it's consistent with how VHB approaches these types of projects. In addition to the overall projections, we use the ITE data to quantify truck trip generation as well. So this table right here is sort of an excerpt from our traffic memo. It contains a summary of the passenger car trips, truck trips, and just overall total. So as you can see, we're anticipating just under 200 total weekday daily vehicles to be generated by the project. During the weekday morning, 36 vehicles, and during the weekday evening, 39 vehicles. One thing I want to just get into a little bit more detail on this is related to the truck trips. Oftentimes, ITE can result in a conservative estimate, and we think so in this case with the daily estimate of truck trips. When we look at this type of project, we have sort of an industry standard of assuming that each loading dock gets touched twice a day. So with 7 loading docks getting touched twice a day, that would end up being only 28 daily trips. But we just want to put the conservative number in here directly from the ITE calculations. Next slide, please. So like I said, we conducted traffic counts at the site in April. The driving range was open, but the other uses were not open yet. As you can see, in the morning peak hour, there was no activity. The driving range doesn't open until 9 a.m. So we're not seeing really anything there in terms of a credit. So in terms of the weekday morning peak hour, we'd be looking at a net difference, in the range of 35 vehicles. However, during the evening peak hour, the existing traffic associated with the driving range and the pro shop was 75 trips during that evening peak hour. So we're expecting a net decrease in traffic during that weekday evening. And I think it's actually going to be a little bit more of a decrease, if you factor in the fact that the batting cages and mini golf weren't operational during our counts. Next slide, please. In terms of our site access evaluation, we reviewed the MassDOT crash data and it showed over the 5 years there were a total of 6 crashes along the site area. Now that results in a MassDOT crash rate of 0.19, which is far lower than the district-wide average of 0.57. On top of the crash analysis, we also did a site distance evaluation at each driveway just to make sure sight lines are adequate. And at both site driveways, we had more than adequate site distance for site access. So just a couple of conclusions. Overall, it's a low generator of traffic. We're expecting to see a minor increase during the AM peak hour and a decrease during the PM peaks. The MassDOT crash history doesn't indicate there's any safety deficiencies, and we have the adequate sight lines for site access. And overall, we're not expecting the project to have a significant impact on the surrounding roadways. And just one final note: we are, going to be entering into the MEPA process very soon. So all our work will be reviewed by MEPA and MassDOT as part of that process. And we'll also need a MassDOT access permit, so that they are also going to be looking at that as well.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Bill, do you want to speak towards some of these landscape improvements?
I do. Hello, everyone. Bill Madden, landscape architect with Lombardi Design. Big picture, I think Rob mentioned this at the very beginning of the presentation, but as a landscape architect, it's always really exciting to be on a team that John's put together, including Scott, of repairing landscapes and making our ecology a healthier place. I do think this is going to be a huge benefit to the town of Easton. Just some imagery here. So the landscape is sort of functioning 2 ways. One is that we wanted it to sort of be a beautiful roadway edge condition for the passerbys. And as much as we love the architecture of the building, we did want to screen it as much as possible. So we've done a mix of native species, deciduous and evergreen, and a collection of juniper trees. So we have the seasonality to screen the building from the street. Durability is a huge part of these types of projects. So selecting plants that can handle large volumes of salt, which are being de-icing products. There was a comment that we received recently, I guess from the board, noting about using cultivars in our species mix. And the function of that is we do have the Armstrong red maples and also a fastigiate oak tree that were included on the project. And the function for that is that we wanted to keep our trees as tight as possible. So the trucks and vehicles that were in the parking lot would easily drive by and not begin, clip the branches. So that was the intention, but I'm open to having a conversation about that. If we can go to the next slide, John. And so this is the overall sort of aesthetic that we're looking for at the entrance to the building. You can see the office in the background. We're including bayberries as sort of an understory to our trees to create that sort of screening that will happen at the lower levels. And seasonal blooms with understory trees. The Amelanchiers is another species that we're using quite a bit on the roadside condition. But we want to just sort of leave you with this as sort of an impression. When we render these types of landscapes, we always think about them in terms of this isn't at the day of planting, this is how it'll look. It's probably 3 growing seasons, just to give you that sort of sense of reality. But we just wanted to leave you with this sort of image in your head of sort of this is, the future for Easton and this new project.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Hand it back over to Austin to speak on some of the stormwater management features.
Yeah, sure. I can quickly touch on these. So the project is fully compliant with Chapter 501 of the subdivision rules and regulations regarding the stormwater management, the town of Easton. Essentially, what the what the rules and regulations state is that it needs to be fully compliant with stormwater management handbook. So we are meeting all 10 stormwater management standards. I can quickly touch on what's going on out there. The kind of this existing grayed out area just south of the blue area. The blue area is our proposed stormwater basin. And then just south of that is the existing stormwater basin. It was built prior to 1996, so it's technically a bordering vegetated wetland now. So that was really the focal point for our design today. There's a series of catch basins and all sorts of kind of a substandard drainage system that is directly connected to that. It really functions more as almost like a forebay. There's an outlet out of that extends to the BVW. So it does have a connection to the BVW. As part of our design, we're actually basically utilizing one of those inlets. Inlet to the existing basin is going to be the outlet of our basin. So we're really able to really not disturb anything in there and kind of keep it as it is. And then we'll just kind of, it'll almost be a layering effect of it's still going to function as it does today, but we're just going to pre-treat everything and it'll maybe get some overflows out of our basin. But so that's no new discharges. That's going to be, a decrease to what's going there. Per standard 2, there's no peak rate. You can't increase rates, so we're reducing rates. Really the design pinch point out here was water quality volume. We're proposing this new 100,000 square foot building. So providing volume for that impervious area was really the design factor. So that dictated the size of our basin, which, it made meeting the peak rates very easy. We've done 3 days of soil testing out here. This was by far the best soil we found out here on site. We had groundwater down about 90 inches and it was a nice loamy sand material that we found, perfect for recharge. It's not a land use with higher pollutant loads. It's warehouse and office space. So standard 5 doesn't apply. Standard 6 critical areas, it does apply. And this actually triggers our filing with MEPA. So we had a preliminary meeting with MEPA back in May, early May. And I believe we'll be filing this week with MEPA or in the coming week for an environmental notification. Redevelopment projects, if you looked at it on paper, you'd think it probably was, but it doesn't qualify because we actually have a slight increase in impervious, so that does not apply. Construction period pollution prevention, we will need to file with a NIPD's SWIP permit for this construction because we're disturbing more than an acre. So I'm preparing a draft SWIP to be filed with conservation, and I can include that in the revised filing of the stormwater calculations. So both standard 8 and 9, we've included a construction phase and long-term operation maintenance plans. But so we'll incorporate the SWIP permit into those two. And then standard 10, we don't know of any illicit discharges out here. And as part of our work, we'll ensure that, and we will file an illicit discharge statement stating that there aren't any on site. And if there are any, we'll change that. So that's really the stormwater management in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Just a couple more things here, guys. Hang tight. So we do not have our architect on the line, but to speak a little bit about the proposed architecture for this building, as we have discussed and established, it's 101,200 square foot warehouse facility that will be concrete tilt-up construction. Top of wall will be 40 feet. We have chosen to paint some of these facade walls to sort of break up the monotonous or monotone nature of the concrete walls. In addition, we have proposed to step in some of these small features to provide a little bit of texture and some shadow lines to it. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, our architect was unable to join today, but should we want to get more into this, we can certainly have him present on the next call. We also have a canopy that is shown here at the entrance of the facility, and all of this material was included in our package. So site lighting, again, just wanted to showcase this plan. I know one comment came up in the staff report about dark sky principle lighting. So we actually have provided these lights to be compliant with dark sky standards. That was actually a request that was put forth by Natural Heritage. If it's not called out in the plans, that's a mistake on our part, and I will be sure to make sure that it is, but that was certainly an element that we discussed with our lighting engineer to ensure that we did meet that standard. Again, lighting along the rear of the building, close to the loading dock, as well as in the parking area and that loading dock drive aisle. Environmental. So this is really one of the elements of this project that gets us most excited. We do have Scott Morrison from Ecotech here, who's going to speak to this a little bit, but we did put in a considerable amount of effort and thought into the positioning and the location of this building, such that we were not encroaching upon the natural heritage boundary, which Scott can get into a little bit as well. We also did notice that there was a substantial amount of disturbed areas within buffer zones, and we have just went through this with the Conservation Commission. But again, I will turn it over to Scott. He certainly is more of the expert on this than I am.
Thanks, John. Just for the record, Scott Morrison from Ecotech. So as you saw, we just went through this with the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission seems excited about the project in itself and the reductions of impacts to the buffer zones. We show on the next slide, I guess kind of the biggest impact and restoration that we're proposing is the existing driving range that kind of bisects the site and creates kind of a separation before large expanse of wetlands on either side. is proposed to be restored. So the netting on both sides will be removed, so that acts as kind of a wildlife barrier that will be completely removed. And we've been working with Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. There's actually 5 species on the site of species of concern. So working with Natural Heritage to restore this area. So by restoration, we're proposing to plant native trees, potentially some shrubs, and then some native ground covers. So upon completion, there'll be about 8 acres of restoration, whereas the project footprint itself is 6.8 acres. So we're really excited about the fact that we can come into a site, eliminate a big wildlife obstruction, and then provide some significant restoration within the Hockomock Swamp ACEC. So this is kind of a couple photos of what we're proposing. So we're proposing gray birch, white pine, red oak, and red maple. So these are kind of some examples of what we'd expect. As you said, we're going to plant 6 to 8 foot high trees, saplings at first, and in a few years, you'd expect the areas to look much like some of the photos here. So it's a really good project. We're excited to move forward, and we'd be happy to answer questions if the board has any at this point.
Okay, great. Thanks for the presentation. Looks like you've made some progress with the town already, with the staff, and put a lot of work in here. So Stephanie, do you have some comments on this project? Oh, Stephanie, are you there?
I think she's muted.
Sorry about that. I do have a couple of comments. One is, I think this was a pretty thorough application. A couple of the things, so I don't know if everybody touched on this, but lot coverage by structure should be shown on the site plan layout sheet. And the line of sight should be shown on the plans, although in this instance, it's pretty clear that you have very clear line of sight. It's very linear. Then the dark sky friendly, again, that was just a comment. It looked like from the photometrics and from the fact that the fixtures appeared to be downcasting. But that should be called out on the plan specifically. And then just to comment on the landscaping, I mean, part of the reason for native species, and especially in the ACEC, which you've talked about, and you've talked about the restoration work that you're going to be doing, which is great and very much appreciated, but is really to provide, habitat for wildlife. And cultivars don't always do that. They don't always produce the food source that the species are looking for, or pollination capabilities, that type of thing. So
yeah, not disagreeing with you at all. Would you be comfortable if we kept the cultivars within the parking area and then went straight natives along the roadway?
I prefer that they all be native.
They all be native? Okay, I think we can achieve that.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board members, do you have any questions or comments on this plan and project?
No, I thought that was a good presentation, so thank you all.
It's, I mean, a lot of work and good work for presentation. I have a question specific. Signage is a separate issue and will not be part of the plan.
Yeah. I have a question. Just I guess anyone can remind me. What's across the street, right? From say, the proposed the building area or the new parking area. So on the other side of Turnpike Street, is that the condos a little farther down? Then there's just like a single family home across the street.
Across the street.
It's sort of a mix. There's a condo as it relates to directly across the street from this project. It's mostly single family homes. We're sort of split. I had a printout in front of me here. Give me a second. We're sort of split from the Terra Court condos to the south of the project, and then the Chase Landing condos to the north of the project. So directly across is mostly single family homes. And again, a part of the goal that, you know, we worked with Bill to attempt to provide as you know, robust planting plan as we could, to visually you know, break up the building from those neighbors across the street, as well as, you know, all the vehicles that drive up and down Turnpike Street.
Yes, yeah, and I guess I understand the concerns about, you know, maybe the some of the trucks, but the trucks are using mostly the other entrance, right, on the yeah, right. So if
Yeah.
there were less shorter cultivars and more like mature trees, then that might just help with the screening a little more along the front there, kind of along with Stephanie's lines.
And Peter, I forgot to mention that Wooden and Curran will be reviewing the stormwater management, so we are waiting on that.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. I saw that. I mean, I don't really have that many questions here. It looks like they put a lot of work into this. So, but I mean, obviously, it's such a we wait in Conservation Commission is a few meetings at least before they make any change, and that kind of goes along with what Woodward and Curran is doing for the town.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just got off our first hearing with Conservation Commission. Jen had provided, and her staff had provided a number of comments to which we are in the process of responding to. Right now, discussions ended earlier this evening with us on the agenda, or ideally on the agenda for the 27th. Our goal would be to have comments returned to them by as late as, or sorry, at the latest the 20th, so they can review. Obviously, the peer review is an outstanding item, which will have sort of its own timeline, but the elements within our control, we will be responding to within the next, I want to say, what is that, to about 2 weeks from now.
All right, and then just like say like I know like along the Turnpike Street side, that's already sort of been filled to accommodate the septic system, the existing septic system, not what you're proposing. But you plan on filling this in a little more to going towards the back. It would still slope back down towards the rear of the property, but you have to fill it in for the stormwater and I suppose everything.
Yeah, so where there's existing parking, sort of, let's see if I can pull up.
Like in front of the driving range, you know?
So if you, where you see this light grayed out area to the south of our stormwater basin, we are proposing to demolish all of the existing structures relating to that driving range facility. So that will be taken out, and we'll be replanting that with, I believe it's a wildlife seed mix. And then again, similarly up here in this north, I guess it's, you know, top right, as you look at the page, similarly, this is all paved surface up here. So we will similarly be demolishing that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you think about where the driving range area is, like this is like actually set ways back from that, where like there's an existing parking lot in the building at this time, sort of, right? Yeah, so.
It's closer towards Turnpike Street. Let's see if I have let me see if I can find, sorry, going the wrong way. Yeah, so the majority of our building is actually, if you can see those setback lines, the majority of our building, in fact, almost entirely of our project is located planned north, as you're looking at this, of the existing facility. So our proposed structure is roughly 70 feet setback from Turnpike Street. Almost all of our facility is, again, staying north of what's existing on site. Again, the goal there, and the reason that we sort of pushed everything kind of closer to the street, was to avoid that natural heritage area. That was our ultimate design intent.
And then with the talks with the town, or the Conservation Commission, who will the town, who's going to own the preserved areas in the rear?
So we will still, that'll still be part of the property. And we've actually agreed as part of our restoration plan to perform some invasive species mitigation, which was submitted as part of our NOI application to the Conservation Commission, and also will be reviewed by Natural Heritage. So that part of the property will remain with the building, but again, we'll have ties to it about mitigation and preventing invasive species in that area. So
got it. Okay, any board members, any other questions? Stephanie, do you see any public? I see a chat.
I have just a question for Stephanie. Under what circumstances, if at all, would we ordinarily do a peer review of the traffic studies? Stephanie, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. It would be if the board felt it was warranted. So if the board had any question about the impact of the project on the existing traffic, you could require a peer review.
Well, I mean, it's just, with all those big trucks going in there, it definitely seems quite different than what existed previously, and it's a largely residential neighborhood, it sounds like. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a
it's
point of discussion more than anything else.
So Turnpike Street, I mean, it's kind of the traffic moves along. You don't see a lot of backups. I had heard when one of our prior clerks lived in Taunton that when there were crashes on Route 24, Route 138 would be a bypass road, so it would get backed up during morning hours. Every time I've traveled it, the traffic does move, but it has been constructed to move a lot of vehicles and larger vehicles. That being said, and I raised this in my report, there are two large distribution facilities. One, I was told, is a Walmart distribution, very similar to the Amazon model. And we are hearing that there's an Amazon facility going in as well. And that is one is going to be across the street from the dog park. I don't know where the other is going. The Walmart.
Even the dog track is under some sort of phase of redevelopment, what's going to happen with that, right? So.
Right. And again, I didn't catch, did they, I'm sorry, John, did you folks talk about the number of vehicles that will be going in, the large trucks that will be going in?
Yeah, they did. They showed maybe an increase like just during the morning hours and a decrease during the evening, I think. But sorry, you can speak, sir.
The delivery of vehicles, I think I mentioned, I think.
I have a question. So traffic is one issue, but there is safety issues too. So you are going to have a big truck turning left on 138.
Well, that's kind of my point. I mean, that's a traffic and safety issue. Right. And I didn't get the sense, quite frankly, that the nighttime the traffic counts really addressed what we're going to be looking at here, because we are looking at delivery trucks. Now, if what Stephanie is saying is that there's going to be other facilities on this street that are going to be doing the same thing, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. And I don't quite know how to make heads or tails out of how that might impact this project. But it does strike me that this area, which I've driven many, many times, people move reasonably quickly, as Stephanie had said, and it's mostly vehicle traffic from what I've seen, not large trucks. So it's a change, and that's why I threw it out there more as a point of discussion. Than I don't have an opinion on it, quite frankly, other than what I've read and this very thoughtful presentation. So I don't know.
I can address the truck numbers again if you want to just.
I would like to add another question to the issue, and I have seen signs, and I think it's 106 in West Bridgewater, in which there are signs that prohibit the motor braking of the trucks, because that in a residential, and you have single family residential in front of this, that is very disturbing. And I don't know if the trucks are going to be using motor brakes, but maybe signage that prohibit that might be needed. So there are some safety and considerations for big trucks going down 138 and turning left here.
Let's give the applicants a chance to show us the traffic numbers here. So.
Yeah, if you could go back to the trip generation table slide, John.
Yep, absolutely.
One more, yeah. So you see in the weekday morning peak hour, that middle column there. So two truck trips during the morning peak hour and 3 truck trips during the weekday evening peak hour. So not a lot of truck activity during those peaks. And as I mentioned before, we're probably looking, you know, if each dock is going to be touched twice a day, we'd probably be looking, you know, more like 30 truck trips per day.
So is this just based on expectation that there'll be no night operations, or this is just how warehouses work in general?
No, we just typically focus on the peak hours where the combination of site traffic is highest with the ambient traffic on Turnpike Street. That's typically what we focus on in traffic studies. There will definitely be some truck trips over the course of the day, but during the peak hours we would expect 2 to 3 peak hour truck trips.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way what I was hearing what Rob was saying, Rob from our group was saying, was that, I mean, I remember that, the intersection was designed for when the dog track could have had some sort of, slot machines or something. So, the state did a pretty thorough job on the intersection. But then I think it's it's the fact that there are tracks at possibly all hours of the day. I think maybe it's the volume and the effect on the neighborhood as much as, possible congestion at the intersection or something. That's the way I kind of interpret some of those comments.
Yeah.
I think it is worth, sorry to interrupt if you don't mind. I think it's worth noting as well that although we do expect this facility to be operating and opening 24 hours a day, typically what we see with projects of this nature is that the nighttime activities are very, very minimal. And the delivery, the truck activity within those nighttime hours is extremely minimal, it really, if at all. The majority of operations that are going on during those nighttime hours are typically, operations within the facility. Whether that's stocking and reshelving and things like that. It's very rarely that you're going to see a high level of truck trips in those sort of off nighttime hours. I also think, just kind of going back as well to the peer review comments, I think Matt briefly touched on this, but this project will be under Mass DOT review. So there is sort of a built-in layer of peer review that will be occurring. Granted, it's not performed by the town, but there are folks that review this type of stuff daily that will be looking at our study and will be taking a look at what Matt and his team have put together to ensure that there isn't a significant impact, if an impact at all, to the existing roadway system there along Turnpike Street and the surrounding areas as well.
Could you just touch on briefly on the entry and exit where the trucks are going to go, on the sight lines and basically the turn radiuses coming out, exiting?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you see here on the left, the left portion of your screen is that truck exit and entrance. So Matt can sort of speak on the sight lines, but again, this turning radius that you see does sort of demonstrate the rotation and the turning diameter of these vehicles, these large trucks. And we have proposed these to be the largest, I believe, WB67, which is the largest of 18-wheeler trucks, I believe. So I don't want to misspeak there, but I believe so. That's what we have modeled this after. But I'll let Matt speak on the sight lines.
Yeah. So at each driveway, we go out and measure intersection sight distance and stopping sight distance. So intersection sight distance is your view as you're exiting the site, looking to the left and looking to the right. And as you're probably familiar with the area, it's pretty straight and flat. So those sight lines are very long. And similarly, stopping sight distance is the measurement as you're traveling along Turnpike Street, how far away can you see the driveway to make sure you can avoid an obstruction coming out of the driveway. And again, with it being straight and flat, those sight lines are more than adequate.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to ask or suggest? So Stephanie, we just from here, we just continue to the next meeting to expect some, well, maybe some possible modifications to the plan based on the Conservation Commission or otherwise, and of course, peer review.
Can you ask the MassDOT and the other agency reports that will be generated from the reviews? Mr. O'Leary?
Would you like to speak toward Mass DOT?
Yeah. So once we file with MEPA, MassDOT will review all the traffic materials. So that would take, if we file on the 15th, it's a 30-day comment period, I believe. So we would expect to hear comments from MassDOT in about 6 weeks, I would say.
So,
Stephanie, who should be reviewing from town this issue? Is that the police? Who should be looking into it from the safety point of view?
Oh, Stephanie,
you are muted.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to answer that? You talking about like police and fire?
I think Amos asked the question of me, and I'm sorry I was muted. But I couldn't fully hear your question, Amos.
Who is going to review the issues with traffic and the traffic and the ride from?
Well, we solicit comments from police, DPW, and fire, and they did not have comments on the project. Again, if the board feels a traffic study is warranted, you could have it peer reviewed, and they will need to, as part of their MEPA application, the MEPA filing, as noted, they will need to discuss the traffic. What is your MEPA triggers? I'm guessing it's not the traffic, it's that it's in the ACEC, mapped habitat, and the size of the disturbance.
Yes, you're exactly right, Stephanie. It's actually the one that really triggers MEPA review is because we fall within the area, that ACEC, that area of critical environmental concern. And then because again, our entryway is on a Massachusetts State Road under jurisdiction of Mass DOT, review is also included by there as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we'll need an access permit.
As such, even though the trigger for MEPA, which requires filings for projects that trigger certain thresholds, and I'm explaining this to the board, if there is a state agency permit that's required, or if you're in an ACEC. So it's the ACEC and the fact that it's on a state road and it's a curb cut, right, coming in. So, but that being said, as part of that process, they will have to do a traffic analysis, and that will be reviewed as part of the MEPA process. And they will have to, my understanding, having worked on one of these, is they'll have to discuss potential development in the area and the potential impact of one on the other. So, and we generally get notified when a filing, we're supposed to be notified when that filing comes in and we can review.
But I mean, as far as we're concerned, that sounds like that would put us like 2 months or more out before we could even, if we want to consider a traffic study, then might as well just wait a month before we even have the guys come back, right? I mean.
And just to clarify, Stephanie, what we're filing with MIPA, we're not required to do a full traffic study for MIPA because of the low traffic generation. So what we're filing as part of the ENF is what we've filed with the town as well.
I think maybe we at the next meeting when we have a few more board members here, we can all figure out exactly what everyone wants as far as that information, and then we can we'll just we'll put some requests in if we need to. If that's what you guys think is a good, any other board members think that's an all right plan.
That's fine by me, and I thought the responses were very helpful to me to understanding the sight lines in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Great.
I just wanted to clarify that the congestion and the traffic is an issue and the study, but I was more concerned about the safety and related to big trucks turning there and everything else with in a highway 138 that the fast traffic going through. So it's the aspect of safety more than congestion and traffic that from my point of view, that was my concern.
Okay, well, sounds like I've kind of gone through those questions a few times. So I'm ready just to continue, but for Chris or anyone else has any more questions, we can keep going.
I'll make a motion to continue site plan review at 530 and 550 Turnpike Street, Stetson.
Second.
All in favor, DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks for coming in, everyone. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Just one quick thing. When is it continued to?
Well, the meeting on the 27th is going to be very full.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want more time, we can, to avoid having all of you to come to another meeting that might have to wait around for a while. We could go out 2 meetings. It's sort of whatever you want.
The other, we're in after the 27th meeting, I believe it's after, let me double check. I believe the planning board and the conservation commission are right. What do I want to say? They're off schedule, so that the meetings are altered. We don't normally have both boards meeting the same night.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, whatever.
Not worried about.
Yeah. So hold on.
From our perspective,
Actually, never mind. That's not until August. This has been an unusual year for.
Sorry to interject here, but from a project owner perspective, I mean, we would like to continue this process to the best of our ability. So I think there were a few comments that we are more than happy to address in the next few weeks here prior to that hearing on the 27th. If there is room, we would appreciate the opportunity to quickly introduce the project. It sounded like there were potentially a few members of the board that were not present tonight. Hopefully, we can get, we certainly won't go through this same lengthy presentation unless it's necessary. We're happy to do it once again, but can kind of introduce the project as well to the board members that weren't here and elicit any additional feedback. Again, obviously that's all pending availability, but from our perspective, we would like to continue this process and move along and stay in front of you folks as best we can.
I think that's okay, Stephanie, with the, it's just a longer meeting.
Yes, and I don't think it will be necessary to go through a full review because this is being recorded And members, to even be able to participate if they've missed a meeting, they have to review those recordings and minutes, so.
Understood. Well, we'd be happy to elicit and hear and answer any questions that might come up from folks that weren't present this evening.
Yeah. Okay, good idea. All right, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your time. Be in touch.
Thank you.
Hey, for that one, we didn't have any audio problems.
No.
Amazing how things are getting better as we go along here. And not on the agenda, but was it just the special permit was continued as well for the Summer Street, right? So meeting minutes, anyone here review the minutes? I did, and they looked pretty good to me.
Peter, there'll be two separate votes, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry, meeting minutes for 5/9 and then meeting minutes for 5/23.
Correct.
Motion to approve the 5/9 meeting minutes, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All in favor, DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next up, we have the meeting minutes from May 23rd.
Motion to approve the May 23rd minutes, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
All in favor, DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Great, that passes. Stephanie, any updates for us?
No, not tonight.
Well, guys, I can usually move these along pretty fast because I'm not a long talker, but I just couldn't do it today. So I just couldn't do it. I tried a few times, but yeah. So, all right, one more motion and we can.
Motion to adjourn, Stetson.
Anderson, second.
Okay. All in favor, DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye. Nice work, Peter.
All right.
Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.